The fact that they did this is insane.
We learned months ago about this FBI memo going around the offices on radical traditionalist Catholics. And at first they had come up with this new acronym. And we thought, the FBI had done this on their own. Now we find out through a larger report through Jim Jordan's Weaponization Committee that there was one guy in Richmond who they were looking at who defined himself as a radical traditionalist Catholic. They couldn't find the term anywhere else, so they had no other way to define it. But instead of focusing on him as maybe being a problematic actor, if he was or not, they don't really go into much more detail than that. They launched an entire nationwide program throughout multiple cities. Be on the lookout for these radical traditionalist Catholics who are going to be infiltrating Catholic churches, looking and their white supremacist groups. All off this one guy who self-described it. Their sourcing was the Southern Poverty Law Center, Salon.com, and The Atlantic, which even their own FBI agents said, hey, it's problematic. It looks like we're doing the work of the Southern Poverty Law Center. This looks kind of partisan, but yet we know they at least once sent, Rick, an undercover FBI agent into a Catholic church in Richmond on behalf of this one individual who called himself a radical traditionalist Catholic. And if we hadn't uncovered this and Congress hadn't uncovered it, it didn't go public, they'd still be moving forward with this investigation and this new line of, I guess, investigation into the Catholic Church.
It was Richmond, Los Angeles, Milwaukee, and the FBI in Portland, Oregon. So it was coast to coast. And when asked under oath by the House Judiciary Weaponization Committee, do you know if the FBI is still pursuing this external product? This is the memo. Here's what the lead agent said. He says, I know internally there have been some discussions throughout the months of a desire to still try and get this information out somehow. So even with all this scrutiny, they are still saying they're working on it. Now, we're under the order from the court. We're going to get the 1,200 pages of documents, which is going to be fascinating to see. But they were still willing to pursue this.
Different bureaus were beginning to pick this up and organizing people to really watch out for Catholics. And what is scary is that even the top FBI director, when caught in front of Congress and he says, oh, no, we got rid of that, he's either lying or he doesn't have control of the FBI. Either way is very scary. Thank God, though, that we have a team that's on it. Because, look, Jay, this is not going to be solved by just highlighting it in the media. This is not going to be solved by asking for a couple of freedom of information requests to get to the bottom. We got to squeeze on all angles. We got to go to the court. We got to absolutely get the information, and that may require legal action. We have to have a team that is wide and deep in order to get to the bottom of this.
I mean, what if someone in your community just said, well, I'm a radical traditional Baptist, and they decided, you know what, we're going to go into every Baptist church, the FBI, or I'm a radical traditional evangelical. Just come up with these terms. And it didn't matter that term was only used by that one individual. They are now going to justify going in and putting in. Remember, we know in this situation, at least one undercover FBI agent was put in to a Catholic church in Richmond. So it wasn't all public facing, like, let's go meet with the priest, let's go meet with the choir director.
Now apologizing.
Yeah. But they were also going in and sending in, again, confidentially, undercover FBI agents to at least one church. And so you have to wonder now, if you're at a church and somebody comes in and starts asking questions, especially because we're around an election time, and they start asking questions about, well, this seems like a pretty right-wing Christian church. You guys are this is a pretty conservative church, conservative pastor. Even if that's true, it's got to kind of like raise alarm bells. Like, why is the person just talking to me about it? Why wouldn't they have known that before if they did a little research on our church that we lean more conservative? And why are they trying to strike this conversation up with me when I've never seen them before at the church?
Because they're FBI agents investigating your church, and they're investigating you. And we filed a federal lawsuit, so we're in federal court. Christopher Wray said it. We try to remove all of the documents. There are 1,200 of them that they have, and we're getting them. And that's why we go to federal court in these cases, folks, and that's why you're supporting the ACLJ. And I need to say this. You talk about a situation like this, which is a total breach of religious freedom, a total breach of the Establishment Clause, church-state relations, to have the government doing this. It's totally outrageous. Having said all of that, with all the outrage there, and then with all the problems there, the idea that we would allow, and this is what concerns me the most here, that we would allow this kind of activity to roll on and not do anything about it would be wrong. And that's why we took direct action. It starts with a letter. That letter then turns into a lawsuit. That lawsuit then turns into an order. That order now requires that documents be sent over to us. And we'll review those documents, and we're going to do that report, and we will send that information to Congress as well, and we will do our own report. But what we know so far is this. It was 4 offices, not 1. They tried to cover it all up by removing it. They were not successful. We know that the agent that's in charge of it says that the agency still wants that information out. So this idea that it's all been gone and removed is just incorrect. We know all of this now. And this lawsuit is only, 4 months old, 5 months old? I mean, I think we've been in court since the summer.